Alright, so this is going to be part 2 to What If Deku Was a Siren. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro. Alright, so before we get started, I'd like to say a few things. That being that like a day and a half ago, I lost like in total 50 subscribers. I'm not sure why. I think it might have been a kind of YouTube glitch or something, because it was on the day that I didn't upload, like during that week. And if people really wanted to like unsubscribe, it wouldn't be all at once, especially on the day or the day before I would upload. So I would assume that they would, unsubscribe between the week that I wasn't, uploading. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. Also, I'm gonna do an update video on the sins and 10 commandments. And if you don't know what that is, I haven't really talked about them recently, but basically they're my kind of YouTube group that I kind of started way back when I had like 700 subscribers. So yeah, I'm gonna do an update video since some of the members for the 10 commandments have changed, and a lot of people, a lot of my new subscribers don't really know the sins or like the 10 commandments. So I'm gonna make an update video on that. So yeah, two more things. First, in my last video I forgot to talk about phase shift, which is the one of the Siren abilities, which basically makes the user be able to control machinery. Second, a lot of you guys, I asked you guys what the 6th power of the Siren should be, and a lot of you guys want a kind of laser ability. But the thing is that one of Amara's kind of skill tree augmentations that you could have for phase trance is a laser with a slam. So I don't know if you guys still want that. Not too many people like talked about different abilities that the 6th Siren could have. And yeah, also remember to comment down CS for Comic Sans, not just on my video, but just, and I want to see it how far we could go with this. Like, I want to see CS on like different what if videos, not even just mine, but like just in the whole kind of what if community. I want to just see how far it kind of spreads out. So in other videos, other videos not just made by me. So if you can, please do that. I just want to see how it goes and how far we could actually push this. So yeah, with that being said, let's actually get into the what if. So in our last part, we just got done with the kind of entry exam and some of the early childhood of Deku. So in this one, we're going over the kind of heroes versus villains as well as the entry exams. So I did ask you guys who should be or who should get kicked out of 1A so that we can make room for Deku's sister, which is Sotoko. And I didn't get too many comments about it, but I saw like two that of the same person. That's going to be Mineta. So yeah, we're just gonna kick him out and basically have him be in class 1B, since he still would have been somewhere in the top. So he would have been in class 1B instead of class 1A. So yeah, so our story would kind of start off after both Sato and Deku would have gotten their letters, and they would have got that message from All Might saying that, well, they're going to be in UA. So we could skip a week, and this would be the first day of of school. So I guess a few things I should lay out. Right now, Deku, he is around the physical ability of Canon Deku because of how he absorbed the kind of slime villain, and this gave him a boost. And right now he no longer really needs to use his sister as kind of a source of power, I guess you could say. So yeah, I just wanted to establish that. So so our story would just continue off from there, and this is when Sato and both Deku would actually walk through the doorway, and this is where both would see Ida basically yelling at Bakugo to put his feet down off the table. And this is where Bakugo would actually notice that both Sato and Deku actually made it into 1A. he would walk up to them as normal, uh, not really too aggressive. I guess he'd be kind of passive aggressive towards Deku in a way. So he'd basically be like, "Oh, looks like you guys were able to make it in." And as it's kind of, they would kind of say, "Oh, Baku, you're in this too?" And he's like, "Of course, I'm the best one out in this class. That includes you two." And Sato would kind of be mad at this and like, "I don't know about that." And as this is going on, this is where Ito would introduce themselves or introduce himself to them, and he would basically apologize for what he said at the entry exams, that being about them being quiet. And he also would congratulate Deku or he would praise Deku for being a better student than him just because he actually saved someone during the entry exam. And Deku would be like, no, it's just what anyone would do in that scenario. And this is where Ito would be like, yes, if I was, if it was a real test, I would have gone and saved that person too. But he's also kind of beating himself up over it. And as this is going down, this is where Uraraka actually comes in, and she talks to both Deku, or she introduces herself to the group, and basically says, "Oh hey, you're the one who saved me, right?" And Deku would be like, "Yeah," and then she would like offer her hand to basically shake it, and Deku would shake with his right arm, which would be his robot arm. And she didn't really notice this before, since it's kind of hidden in a way, because it's still the normal length of an arm. It's not like Troy's arm, it's still robotic, but it would have been hidden because of the sleeves, and you could only see the hand because of it. So she would notice like, whoa, like what's with your hand? Is that part of your quirk? And this is where Deku would be like, no, this is actually a prosthetic arm or a robotic arm, because I lost it as a kid. And she'd be like, what? What happened? Were you in an accident? And Deku, and we'd be like, no, not really. And this is where Sato would actually come and basically tell him. She would say that when they were younger, when they were born actually, they were conjoined twins, and they were connected through his arm, which needed, or from the shoulder, I guess, since he wouldn't have an arm, and they needed to be, separated. So this is where we're like, whoa, that's, that sounds, she'd be like, that's kind of interesting, I guess. She would be like, is that true? And Deku would be like, yeah, it is. That's why I have this robotic arm. And he would like pull down his sleeve to show it even more. And yeah. So I asked you guys whether or not One for All should transfer to his arm, his artificial one or prosthetic. And you guys said yes, or at least one person did. So I'm going to go with that assumption. So yeah. So as they're kind of talking about this is when a person in a sleeping bag actually comes through, and this is actually Aizawa. So he would basically get in front of the class and then take off his sleeping bag. He would then introduce himself to the class and say that they're actually going to skip orientation and actually going to do a quirk assessment instead. So the class was kind of confused about this, but then he says the person who does the worst actually gets kicked out or expelled. So everyone's like kind of freaking out about this, and they're saying like, no, you can't do that. That goes beyond your power as a teacher. And then he would explain the way that UA works and how he's able to do anything he wants basically. So everyone complies and actually goes and changes. So they would all come out, and everyone would be kind of dressed for their they would be in their PE uniforms. So I believe in this what if I would say that Sato would have the largest score out of all of them, even Baku. I think Baku would be second, while Deku would be third, since he did get those hero points and got some points from just generally how you say this, from both saving and killing some robots. So yeah, after this is where Aizawa would actually pick Sato to actually throw the ball, so they could test the difference between normal, using your normal powers, like your just normal abilities, and then using your quirk. So she would throw it normally, and I would say she would get around 60 meters just by throwing it normally. Then Aizawa would tell her to use her quirk. So the range on Lilith's So the range on the teleportation for phase walk is not really known. We know it's able to go um, beyond planets because she's able to teleport from Sanctuary that's in, or she's able to teleport halfway across the planets and things like that. So it is justifiable that she could, well, teleport from a baseball to like the atmosphere, right? And I guess when other people used it, there have been some cases where they should be able to teleport from planet to planet. So it is pretty powerful, I guess. So yeah, I think Sato would then use her phase walk skill to basically teleport the baseball, and there'd be a kind of explosion that would go around the baseball that would be in fire, and then it would be gone from her hands, and it would be outside Earth's orbit, which would then cause it to infinitely, I guess it wouldn't infinitely, but it would continue going forward, which would give her a score of infinity. So then after that, everyone would be impressed, and everyone would be expecting Deku to do something just as great, just because his sister did something amazing, and they're both in class 1A and also twins. So we would get through the other, I guess, exams. So we would go to, or the other like parts of the test. So we go for grip strength. I think Deku would cheat in this one and use some of his robotic strength in his prosthetic arm to basically cheat and get a pretty high score. Not the best, but I think he would get somewhat high, somewhere in the kind of top 5 because of that, since everyone else doesn't really there's only like 2 people in class 1A that have like somewhat of strength quirks, that being Shoji with his kind of duplo arms, and was it Mato, I think, I don't know, I don't remember his name, but the person who eats sugar. Those two have like strength quirks, so yeah, he'd be able to kind of be in the top 5 with that. So I guess we would get to the kind of race, the dash, or the race, yeah. So this is where Sato would then also get first place in because of her teleportation using phase walk. So you can't really beat that. Deku, he would be able to get second place as well, being able to teleport like Sato. But the difference between his power and hers is that he can't teleport as far, and it doesn't do as much damage as hers. So that's really why, just through the general years of just, siphoning her power, or leeching off her power, that's really why he has those powers. So then we would get to the, ball throw, right? So everyone would get their normal ball throw, and then this is where Deku actually comes up, and he's very nervous. He doesn't know what to do, and he can't really teleport the ball away just like how his sister did, and he's thinking of using that power, just like the power that All Might gave him, which is one for all, to kind of throw it. So he thinks about doing it, and this is where Aizawa actually stops him and basically does that whole spiel about how you're useless if you have to basically, break your arm every time you use your quirk. So it's not a good idea, since he already saw what happened. So as this is going down, he thinks of another strategy, and this is where he actually gets kind of like a flashback, or he goes into he sees like the past users of both One for All and the Siren power of Leech, or Phase Leech. So he's seen all these different people and he doesn't understand. And this is where the other phase, the One for All users aren't really doing anything, but the Sirens are actually coming towards Deku. And actually, it's kind of like I said before, it's kind of a mixture of both One for All and the Siren powers. And these Sirens just go up to Deku and they just kind of touch his like tattoos, and it starts to glow. And this is where he actually unlocks Phase Lock, which, if you don't know, it's kind of like telekinesis in a certain way. So after that's done, Deku's tattoos start glowing, and everyone doesn't really know what's happening, but his sister knows that something has to do with basically like his getting a power up or something, because that's usually what happens when their tattoos grow. They're using their powers. So he basically, the ball, uh, Deku basically shows wings, right? If you don't know, sirens have somewhat the ability to fly, kind of, at least hover for a bit. So wings, these kind of angelic kind of wings made out of energy, actually appear from his back, and this is where everyone's surprised, but not really too much Soto, because she would have had these wings before, just using her powers in general. So as this is happening, the ball itself actually gets entrapped within a bubble, this kind of purple bubble called a phase lock. I believe that's the term of the bubble, as well as the power. So after this is done, this is where Deku basically uses that power to throw it as far as he can. And we don't know the range of phase lock, but we know it's strong enough to pick strong enough to pick up like trucks, like the Borderlands trucks, which are like a lot bigger than like normal trucks, right? As well as giant bombs that you see in Borderlands 3, and some general kind of other stuff. I forgot exactly what, but they're easily able to throw things like that, as well as shoot energy projectiles. So yeah, so that's what he would do. He would throw it as far as he can, and I would say that he would at least go to, I guess, the other cities. So let's just say like 10 kilometers in throwing distance. So everyone would be impressed with that, and then the person next would be Uraraka, and she would get Infinity as well. So this is where Aizawa would then announce the kind of results, and they would see that the invisible girl, I believe her name is Hina, would actually be expelled. So this is what this is where Aizawa would announce that, and I think Deku in this one would actually stand up for Hina because of it. I believe that's her name. So he would basically say, like, I know, right now she might seem not that strong, but I've been there before. I've been someone who's been weak enough to not even being able to take care of themselves, having to leech literally off of others. But now, because I was able to grow and train, I was able to become stronger. And I believe that, well, she could do the same thing. So I don't think it's fair that someone with so much potential, who got into the Class 1A in the first place, should be expelled, at least this early in, before she can even show what she can do. So this is where Aizawa would then start laughing. Deku would kind of feel embarrassed about this, and he'd be like, you know what, kid, I like you. I'm gonna see what she can do, but if she can't live up to the hype that you're giving her, then, well, it's gonna be on your shoulders. So after this is done, Deku would sigh in relief, because him like standing up to a teacher isn't really something he's used to. After that, people would start to respect Deku for doing that, because none of them really would do that in his place. So they all congratulate him for being brave, and Hina would actually thank him as well. So after this is where I guess they would get to the other classes, and this is where All Might would actually come through the door saying, I am here as your combat instructor. So I guess I'm not sure what the kind of hero suit or the hero costume would be for the two characters, or both Sotoko and Deku in this one, since they are a lot different than they are in canon. Well, Sato isn't canon, but you know what I mean. So you guys can tell me down below how the kind of costume should be. So yeah, so he would then, after this is where All Might would basically talk about how the costume designers already have all the plans for your costumes, and they're already made. So everyone would change into their kind of costumes, and this is where they would go outside to that kind of testing area so that they could do a kind of experiment, right? So the plan was that Deku was going to basically or what am I saying? So the plan for All Might is that he's going to choose he's gonna do 2 teams. One's going to be villains, and the other is going to be heroes. So he's gonna randomly pick, or have people randomly pick what team they're going to be on. And yeah, so the same teams they're gonna be the same teams. That's going to be Deku and Uraraka versus Ida and, well, I believe it was, yeah, Bakugo, right? So with Sotoko, she would basically replace Mineta and where they would go. All right, so I'm gonna end it here. I know this one's kind of not really where I end videos at, but this video is kind of getting long. And yeah, so in the next part we'll go over the kind of heroes versus villains, as well as the the USJ. So yeah, this is gonna be the end of the video, so remember to like and subscribe, whatever. But yeah, this is gonna be the end of the video, so yeah,